24 years ago, depending on when you're watching this video, on the morning of September 11th, 2001, the United States awoke to what seemed like just another ordinary Tuesday. In New York City, commuters hurried through crowded subways and bustling sidewalks, while government employees in Washington, D.C. moved through familiar routes. Across the nation, children filled their classrooms, and families gathered over breakfast, televisions and radios humming in the background. Airports were alive with the usual rhythm of travel, passengers checking in, bags rolling across polished floors, and boarding calls echoing through terminals. But amid the normalcy, hidden in plain sight, 19 men blended into the crowds, quietly preparing to unleash one of the deadliest attacks in history. In this video, we'll be taking a look at some of the eerie photos and videos linked to that terrible day. Our heart goes out to all of those affected by 9/11, both on the day and in the years after. Speeding. In the final weeks leading up to September 11th, Ziad Jarrah's movements mirrored both the ordinary life of a young man traveling across the United States and the secret preparations of someone involved in one of the most devastating terrorist plots in history. Jarrah had arrived in the United States in mid-2000, initially settling in Florida, where he enrolled in flight training at Huffman Aviation in Venice. Along with other members of the Hamburg cell, he took lessons that helped him qualify for a private pilot's license. Over the course of the following year, he frequently traveled between Florida, Virginia, and New Jersey, all while maintaining close contact with his fiancée in Germany to support the appearance of a normal life. By the summer of 2001, Jarrah had already been selected as the pilot hijacker for United Airlines Flight 93, and in late August, he began traveling in preparation for the attacks. On August 27th, he purchased his ticket for Flight 93, which was scheduled to depart from Newark International Airport on the morning of September 11th. At this point, he was coordinating closely with the other hijackers. Around the same time, Jarrah briefly returned to Florida, where several other hijackers were still based, before heading north. By early September, he had made his way up the East Coast, and on September 7th, records show that he checked into a hotel in Newark, New Jersey, staying close to the airport from which Flight 93 would depart. His movements suggest that he was balancing final preparations with maintaining a low profile, making efforts not to attract attention. On September 9th, just 2 days before the attacks, Jarrah was driving through Maryland when a state trooper pulled him over for speeding. He had been traveling at 90 miles per hour in a 65 mile per hour zone. Maryland State Police later released a video clip of the stop. Take a look.
Or how am I?
How you doing today? State Police, that's being recorded in video. Reason stop, you're doing 90 and 65. See driver.
How am I?
Okay. Still live in Springfield on Quicksilver Drive? Still live on Quicksilver Drive? Okay, I'll be right with you. Okay, sir, 90 miles an hour in the 65 zone is a $270 fine. I need your signature down here at the bottom. Blue copy is a self-addressed envelope. Use a check or money order to mail it in. If you do so, you have to do it within 15 days. Okay, all your payment options are on the back of the white copy there. Okay, here's your information. Free to go.
The officer issued him a $270 fine and allowed him to go. At that time, his name was not on any watch list, and there was no reason for the traffic stop to raise suspicion. This brief and seemingly routine encounter, however, became a striking reminder of one of the missed opportunities to intercept one of the hijackers so close to the day of the attacks. After that incident, Jarrah continued on to Newark, and on September 10th, he stayed at a hotel near the airport, making his final preparations the following morning. The next day he boarded United Airlines Flight 93 with 3 other hijackers. Once the plane was in the air, the hijackers launched their attack, taking over the cockpit. Jara, who had trained extensively as a pilot, was expected to fly the aircraft towards its intended target, believed to be either the US Capitol or the White House. However, when passengers and crew learned of the other hijacked flights that struck New York and Washington, bravely fought back against the hijackers, they ultimately forced the plane to crash in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Jara's movements in the weeks before 9/11 highlighted how easily the hijackers navigated the country without drawing suspicion, even after being issued with a speeding ticket, an encounter that, at the time, carried no hints of its greater significance. Riskwater's Financial Technology Congress photo. On the morning of September 11, 2001, the Riskwater's Financial Technology Congress was being held at Windows on the World, the celebrated restaurant and conference venue that occupied the 106th and 107th floors of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. It was the first time this event had been conveyed in New York, and delegates from banks, trading firms and technology companies had gathered alongside Riskwater's group staff to discuss developments in financial technology. At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower between the 93rd and 99th floors, instantly cutting off all escape routes from the levels above. Sadly, everyone at the conference, together with the restaurant's employees and guests, were trapped. Among these present were at least 16 Riskwater staff members who had travelled from London and New York. They were joined by conference attendees, many of whom were prominent in the finance and technology sectors. None of them survived. In total, more than 170 people were in Windows on the World at the time, and all perished either from the impact, smoke, or the eventual collapse of the towers at 10:28 a.m. What makes this tragedy especially haunting is the existence of a single surviving photograph taken inside the conference that morning. It shows attendees gathering together, unaware of the catastrophe that was moments away. The image has been described as the only known visual record of the doomed event. Its survival has given it a profound symbolic weight. It's not just a photograph of a professional gathering, but a final glimpse of lives on the edge of irrevocable loss. The photograph endures as a reminder of the normality of that morning, and of how suddenly it was shattered. It stands as both a historical document and a memorial to those who were present, a quiet moment frozen just before the world changed forever. The image only survived because allegedly the photographer ran out of film and had left the gathering to purchase more. Blame It on George did an excellent video deep diving into this image if you'd like to check it out. The pass alarm sound. On September 11, 2001, as firefighters entered the burning towers of the World Trade Center, many of them carried a device known as a pass alarm, short for Personal Alert Safety System. These alarms are designed to protect firefighters in situations where visibility is low and danger is extreme. If a firefighter stops moving for a set period of time, usually 30 seconds, the device emits a piercing, high-pitched alarm to signal that the individual may be down, trapped, or in distress. The sound is deliberately shrill, cutting through chaos so rescuers can locate and aid their colleagues. In the aftermath of the attacks, when the towers had collapsed and Lower Manhattan lay buried in rubble and smoke, the sound of pass alarms was one of the most haunting elements on the scene. Survivors and rescuers described hearing dozens of them going off simultaneously from beneath the twisted steel and broken concrete. Take a listen, but be warned, this sound is very haunting. The alarms continued to wail, sometimes for hours, creating a haunting chorus of distress calls from firefighters who had been overtaken by the collapse. For those searching through the wreckage, the sound was unforgettable, an urgent signal of lives lost, with each alarm representing a firefighter who entered the tower and never returned. The memory of the past alarms became one of the most poignant testimonies of that day. Firefighters and recovery workers later described how the sound symbolized both bravery and tragedy. Bravery because it reminded them of the colleagues who rushed toward danger, fully aware of the risks, and tragedy because the alarms went unanswered, buried beneath the overwhelming destruction. Even now, when survivors recount their experiences at Ground Zero, the sound of the pass alarm is remembered as one of the most chilling and enduring memories of 9/11. The airport photographs. On the evening of September 10, 2001, Mohammed Atta, the ringleader of the September 11th attacks, and al-Omari drove north from Boston to Portland, Maine. Investigators later determined that they checked into the Comfort Inn in South Portland, arriving just before 6 p.m. Hotel records confirmed their stay, and security cameras captured their presence in the lobby. This is the actual room they stayed in, room 233. The reasons for this detour have never fully been explained. Some analysts have suggested that Atta may have believed flying from Portland to Boston would make their journey appear more routine, while others have speculated that it was a way to ensure the hijackers were split across separate boarding points, reducing the chance that the entire team would be delayed or scrutinized. That night, Atta and al-Omari spent only a few hours at the Comfort Inn. They checked in together, carrying little luggage, and were seen moving through the corridors without drawing attention. Early the next morning, long before sunrise, they left the hotel and drove to the Portland International Jetport. At approximately 5:33 a.m. on September 11th, surveillance footage recorded them passing through the security checkpoint. They appeared calm and deliberate, showing identification and proceeding towards their gate like any other passengers. Atta is in the blue, followed by al-Omari. The two boarded Colgan Air Flight 5930, a small commuter plane scheduled to depart Portland at 6 a.m. for Boston Logan International Airport. This flight was crucial for their plan to work, as it connected them with the rest of the Flight 11 hijacking team, who were already waiting at Logan. Their commuter flight landed in Boston shortly after 6:45 a.m., giving them just enough time to make their way to the gate for American Airlines Flight 11, scheduled to depart at 7:45 a.m. From there, Atta assumed command of the operation, and along with al-Omari and 3 other hijackers, he boarded Flight 11 and took his assigned seat. By 8:14 a.m., the plane had been commandeered, and at 8:46 a.m., Atta piloted the Boeing 767 into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The Portland detour left behind some of the clearest documentary evidence of the hijackers' final hours. Hotel records, surveillance images, and airline manifests provided investigators with a detailed timeline of Atta and al-Omari's movements on the night before and morning of September 11th. Those seemingly ordinary moments, checking into a roadside hotel, walking through an airport terminal, presenting documents to security officers, now stand as a haunting prelude to the catastrophe that followed. The ATM footage. In the final days before the September 11th attacks, Hani Hanjour and Majid Moqued, together with the other 3 men assigned to hijack American Airlines Flight 77, moved with deliberate calm through ordinary suburban settings in Maryland and Virginia. Their presence left behind a paper and photographic trail that investigators later reconstructed in detail. On September 5, 2001, Hanjour and Moqued were recorded by a surveillance camera at a SunTrust Bank ATM in Laurel, Maryland. The pair had been staying at a motel in the area and using rental cars to move between locations. They withdrew cash, which they would rely on in the days ahead for food, lodging, and last preparations. The footage without context is unremarkable. 2 young men quietly completing a simple task, but its meaning became chillingly clear in retrospect. Hanjour, who'd been designated the pilot of Flight 77, had trained at flight schools in Arizona and had rented small planes in New Jersey earlier in the year. Despite his inconsistent flying record and concerns raised by instructors about his competence, he remained assigned to control the aircraft. In early September, he reunited with his team, including Moqued, at motels in Laurel and later in Virginia. In the following days, the hijackers moved closer to Washington, D.C., and on September 10th, several of them checked into the Marriott Residence Inn in Herndon, Virginia, near Washington Dulles International Airport. They spent their final evening making phone calls, sending emails, and in some cases leaving behind farewell messages. Records show that Hanjour and Moquid purchased flight tickets for American Airlines Flight 77 and prepared to meet the others in the early hours of September 11th. On the morning of the attacks, Hanjour, Moquid, and 3 accomplices, brothers Nawaf and Salim al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar, arrived at Dulles Airport. As shown in a previous video, security cameras captured them passing through checkpoints, undergoing screening like any other passengers. They boarded the Boeing 757 bound for Los Angeles, taking their seats amongst unsuspecting travelers and crew. At 8:51 a.m., just minutes after American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower at the World Trade Center, Flight 77 lifted off from the runway. By 9:37 a.m., Hanjour was at the controls, steering the plane into the western facade of the Pentagon, killing all on board and 125 people inside the building. The Laurel ATM images were captured less than a week before the atrocities. What could they have been thinking at that moment? How could these seemingly ordinary people commit such an evil act? To this day, it defies belief. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Our heart goes out to all of those affected by 9/11. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.